occurred repeatedly in and around Jerusalem. And the holiest places are inevitably the greatest points of tension. Over the past 3 decades, there have been violent incidents on and around the Temple Mount, involving radicals from various groups. Jewish extremists have threatened to break into the area and on a number of occasions have succeeded. At other times, Muslims have thrown stones and boulders down onto the Western Wall. Israeli police and soldiers have moved in, firing tear gas and, on occasion, live ammunition. The sense of paranoia and distrust is rarely allowed to fade.
If you demolish the 3 holy places of Jerusalem, you'll get 3 holy craters in the ground. People will come there and will fight each other over the possession of the crater. Nothing will be basically changed.
The city lives on the edge of instability. There are checkpoints on every road in and out of Arab areas outside Jerusalem. Cars are stopped, checked. Every Palestinian has to have the correct papers or they will not be allowed into the city.
All the way, I was seeing the soldiers. All the way. So I become very nervous, very nervous.
For Shireen to pray at the Dome of the Rock, she has to pass through 2 separate Israeli checkpoints.
If you have someone who hasn't permission, who hasn't ID, or someone who forget his ID, someone forgot he's in big trouble, in real trouble, just because he forgot it. This become like, I hate the ID. I hate to show it. I hate the colors of the ID. I'm not fundamentalist. I'm just the one who tried to live in peace and with my dignity. That's all.
هذا ما متى؟
لا هذه تشتغل معنا مش مرة. لا لا.
هذا مع السلامة.
I can't understand someone humiliate me or humiliate anyone I know. We just have 4 or 5 bumper suicide and we all punished. Is that justice? I will myself would be bumper suicide one day if they just keep treating me that way.
Suicide bombings are the latest escalation in Palestinian terrorism. They have claimed more than 100 lives in Jerusalem in the course of a single year. Horrific and almost impossible to defend against, they only perpetuate an atmosphere of violence and terror. In the Talmud, it is written that God created 10 parts of beauty. 9 were bestowed on Jerusalem, and only 1 to the rest of the world. But it is also said that God then created 10 parts of pain, and God also bestowed 9 of these on Jerusalem. Jews, Christians, Muslims, all have wanted to touch, to hold, to own the stones of Jerusalem. Hundreds of thousands have died in the attempt.
And nothing basically has changed. Everybody comes here armed, determined, and they want to have this holy city for themselves. You can feel it in the air. When you live here, you feel it. You feel it when you see the people, when you hear, when you smell, when you see the stones, when you see the graves, when you see the light of Jerusalem, which is not nice to your eyes. It's a different place.
The hills outside Old Jerusalem are covered in graves. millions of them, the dead of 3,000 years. Jewish graves, Muslim graves, Christian graves. Islam, Judaism, and Christianity all believe that there will be a final reckoning between the forces of good and evil, that the dead will be brought back to life, and that there will be a day of judgment. All of them believe that this will happen in Jerusalem. To be buried in Jerusalem is to be one of the first to rise again. For the Israeli national airline, the dead are regular passengers. Each year, hundreds of coffins are flown in. Their occupants wish to be buried on the Mount of Olives overlooking the city. These latest immigrants to Israel are signed over to Rabbi Gelbstein.
As the prophet says, the Mount of Olives is where the Redeemer will stand at the end of days, where the announcement of the redemption will take place, and where the dry bones will be resurrected. In our sources it is said that when the Jews are resurrected, those who are buried near Jerusalem will have a shorter way to travel to the temple. So he who is buried on the Mount of Olives, the closest place to the temple, spares himself the torments and tribulations he might have had otherwise as a result of his resurrection. I do not have any doubt that the redemption is very close, even closer than I can imagine.
Jesus will come, place his feet on the Mount of Olives. It's supposed to split in half and then walk through the Kidron Valley and into the eastern gate into the temple and take his rightful position as King of Kings and Lord of Lords.
Jerusalem is the place where mankind will be collected on the day of judgment, the day when earth will be a different earth, and the day when the heavens will be different. There is no doubt about this. This is a sacred city.
The gates of the Haram al-Sharif swing shut. The doors of the Holy Sepulchre are locked for the night. By the Western Wall, the Israelis celebrate their return to Jerusalem. In this city, above all others, man has strived to touch the eternal, to talk with God.
It's amazing how we can live in one city which has so many different groups and almost never talk to one another.
When we live so close to each other in the state of political conflict, the proximity makes us lose sight of how similar we all are.
Peoples, races, nations pass and die, flee and return. It seems that only the stones of Jerusalem remain constant and unyielding. Only they and the power of their holiness can outlast the passing millennia, can truly touch the eternal.